Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. We're here for the Paddock podcast today. I'm joined by Jay from Full Time Devils. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you? It's
Yeah,
been
good.
a little while since we spoke to each other, hasn't it?
I know it's been.
Time we did a video
I've been keen
together.
to get you back on, and here we are. We're going to be talking a little bit about transfers, a little bit about the game on Thursday, and a little bit about the sort of coronavirus.
The C word.
Yeah, it's becoming something more than just a little bit of Liverpool might not win the league.
Yeah.
It's getting it's becoming the thing that we hoped it wouldn't become almost now, isn't it? But the main thing I want to talk about today, there's news coming out in the last few days about Jack Grealish and his potential move to United being being based on the fee being based on whether they get relegated or promote or stay up at Villa. And we've heard of Sancho, and it looks as though that there has been contact made there. We've seen Solskj&ael come out in the last few days as well, saying how United are planning sort of 1-2 transfer windows ahead. It's not just we get to May and see what's available. And Jude Bellingham is sort of another piece of that jigsaw that we saw his family and him yesterday getting a tour around Old Trafford for a potential move at the end of June. Has there been a bit of a culture shift at United since the days of Falcao and Di Maria, where we're kind of doing, planning things, doing things the way you'd like to see things a little bit more in terms of transfers? You
could argue that. I mean, the sort of paradox about the Falcao, Di Maria, Mkhitaryan, Herrera, Luke Shaw, Sanchez, Lukaku, whatever eras are that at the time most of those signings made sense.
Yeah.
If you go back in time, now we can sit here now and go, Di Maria disaster. Was anyone really complaining when we signed Di Maria? Was anyone really moaning when Falcao turned up in a United shirt? I certainly wasn't. I was buzzing. Was anyone moaning when we got Sanchez? No, it seemed to make sense at the time. Now, as we're sitting here now, you're talking about those players. Again, it makes sense. The only slight shift I would see, there seems to be a little bit more collective sort of influence of youth. The collective sort of aim towards youth. In the past, where we've had like a Luke Shaw come in alongside Herrera, Daley Blind, Falcao, Schweinsteiger. It's been one youngster, whereas now you've got Bellingham on the back of James, Wan-Bissaka. You mentioned Grealish. I know he's not a youngster; he's relatively
24,
young. 24, yeah.
Like
so there seems to be a slight sort of shift there, but I don't think it's a massive change. I think we've always had a little bit of balance, but I think in retrospect, it's always easy to look back and go, our transfer policy has been a shambles. The problem we've had with our transfer policy is who's been overseeing it, because there's always been this influence of these sort of unseen forces who, Louis van Gaal came in. He didn't scout Luke Shaw.
Yeah.
We signed Luke Shaw almost like the day that Louis van Gaal arrived, and I'm pretty sure that Louis van Gaal didn't return from the World Cup and go, I want Southampton's left back as a priority. We tried to sign Ander Herrera whilst David Moyes was manager, and we signed him whilst Louis van Gaal was manager. So someone other than the manager has signed off on those transfers, had tried to make those transfers happen. Now, what I'm hoping is these transfers are part of an overall strategy that the manager's involved in, and it's long term. So I'm hoping that Ollie's saying, right, this is how I see Jack Grealish fitting into my team. This is how I see Jude Bellingham fitting into my team. This is how I see, all the other players that he signed. There seems to be a bit more cohesion there, but I'm a little bit cautious because we've been here before where we've all got excited and we thought, oh yeah, I can see it now. Even under Jose,
Because Memphis was signed nice and early, wasn't he, if I remember? I think he was signed just after the season ended, or the day, within the first couple of weeks of the transfer window opening, he was signed very early. I remember that. And yeah, there was that kind of excitement. But you look back at the Van Gaal signings, almost not. How many of them are left at the club? Any?
The Van Gaal signings.
Because we've still got Ferguson players there.
Was Romero a Van Gaal signing?
Perhaps Romero. But,
I'm not even sure. If I'm wrong, please do get in the comments.
Sure
I'm not sort of pinning me flag to that mast.
Yeah.
But Martial.
Yeah.
Was a Van. But again, though, was that did Louis van Gaal go? I want Tony Marshall, or was that someone else? I mean, whoever it was deserves credit. It's sort of come to fruition. But again, was that the only one I think that actively had targets was probably Jose.
Yeah.
Who said, I want.
He clearly wanted Matic.
Yeah, I want Matic. Yeah. Even Pogba, I think might not have been his decision.
No.
Or Fred.
Yeah, Fred almost
'Cause
seemed
he
like
certainly
he
didn't
got
act
bored
like
of
he's-
not having anyone, and then he was like, "Well, City kind of want him, so I'll nick him
Yeah.
instead." Like
It's
the
weird.
Fred situation always was weird. He never seemed to like Fred, did he?
No, he didn't. It was, I go back to the Juve at home game. We're 1-0 down. It's an absolute terrible performance. And Fred just sat on the bench. And after the game, Jose comes out and said, I didn't have any options. I thought it was shocking. All I want to see is some sort of proper strategy because we've lacked it. And if this is a strategy where Ollie's speaking to the scouts and the board or whatever, and he's saying, right, these are the players I want and this is why I want them, I'm all for it. What I don't want to just see is this sort of throwing money at players and teams and hoping one of them for sticks, because that's what we've done in the past.
Do you think it helps maybe that Solskjaer does? People always say like, oh, one of the reasons people like him is because he's a club legend, and you only defend him because of this, and this. But do you think the fact that he knows the club better than Mourinho, like obviously better than Van Gaal, even Van Gaal had never coached in the Premier League. I know people know United because it's such a world brand, but none of our managers since Ferguson have understood the club and what it means at United. You can enter into some of that sort of poetic nonsense when you talk about that, but there is certainly some kind of something that maybe Solskjaer understands more than others in terms of who's coming through the door.
There's that. There's the fact that maybe he can be the one manager who unites the backroom and boardroom staff, because from what I've heard, I'm not ITK by any stretch of imagination, you guys know more than me, but a lot of journalists are problematic when it's like, are we backing him properly in the transfer window? Van Gaal, again, some behind the scenes wanted him, others weren't too keen. Some actually thought Giggs might be the right option, giving it him, others didn't. Jose, again, very divisive. Someone
always.
like the old school lot, apparently, likes of Bobby Charlton weren't keen on him, whereas Woodward was like, this is the way to go. But I think with Jose, almost everyone is happy with him. Yeah, Jose. With Ole, everyone is happy in terms of Woodward wanted him, Fergie loves him, coaching staff all love him. He's got a settled coaching staff there. Everyone at board level's happy, and by rights the fans should be happy. But I get why they're not, because some aren't, because results haven't been great. I'm happy with Ollie. I think he deserves time, and it's not been perfect, but I'm happy to give him time. But I can see why others aren't. So I think that's one advantage Ollie may have. He's got this sort of pardon the pun, but he's united a lot of people behind him because of who he is and the fact that he's a club legend. He knows some of the people that have been there for years. He had that fantastic run that endeared him to Woodward. And yes, let's call it as it is, he does do the dirty work that the Glazers love. So whilst I don't think he's a Glazer puppet as such, he does get rid of the deadwood they got rid of. He has trimmed that.
A lot of the fans wanted to
shave. Well, it's not just them. He has shaved that wage bill. So he does tick a lot of boxes. And I think in terms of, you look at which direction you're going to go as a club, we had the young manager. Sorry, we had the manager who'd been at one club for years in Moyes. We tried that, didn't work. We gave it Giggs briefly. But even then, in the 4 games, he only won 2 of them, so it wasn't like he
didn't say
anything this is the guy for us. We had the most experienced manager available in Van Gaal. We had the most successful manager available in Jose. The only way, different direction you can go in is someone who knows the club, and that's all.
Yeah, I just think that we got to the point where under Moyes, obviously inherited the title winning side. You're expecting whether it be a title push or at least sort of comfortable top 4, and we didn't get that. Under Van Gaal, you're still thinking, well, you've still got Rooney, you've still got a lot of those players that won the league. Again, you're sort of expecting maybe 1 or 2 years and we're back there. We didn't see that. And then with Mourinho, it was just starting to slip, but there was still that. We've got Pogba, we've got Lukaku. Mourinho wins it every year, every time in his second season. Whereas I think Solskjaer is the first manager that's come in and people have kind of gone, I know we're not happy with 6th and stuff, but people kind of go, 4th place will be all right this season. Where before that, it always felt like it's 4th or sacked. Now it's like 4th would be all right. Less than that, we're not going to be happy. But, I think Solskjaer's the first manager that if he doesn't finish top 4 this season, I still think most people won't want him to leave. Whereas the other managers, it was like, if it's not top 4, we'll get someone else because this team's good enough. Whereas there has been a slow understanding that this team probably isn't good enough. And this kind of like deadwood clear out that you've said has been a long time coming. And I think it's going to take a while, isn't it? We've seen every other team look around Europe, not necessarily around Europe, look around England. From a team to go from winning the league to dropping off to coming back, the minimum time that takes is 5 years. And that's Chelsea. they did 2005 and then 2010 around that period, something like that anyway. Other than that, and they did it again in the 2010s. But other than that, it takes anywhere between Arsenal was 6-7 years or whatever around that period, and then they've dropped off. Liverpool was 30 years. City was whatever. That's been a different thing because they've just had all that money. But the cycle of going from not that good to winning the league takes a while. And I think for the first time, people are kind of understanding that we seem to be on the way back up again. It's been down until Solskjaer came in. I think the end of last season was probably rock bottom in terms of performances and effort, and we saw a lot of players who didn't look like they want to be there. And then now, for the first time since, I hate to say since Ferguson, because it all just seems a bit, putting too much pressure on, but it seems as though there is a vision and a feeling around the club that things are sort of on the way back up again, rather than when's this skid going to end?
Yeah, 100%, because I think I've said this many times. Part of the problem with Ollie was I don't want to say he flattered to deceive. I think he made a run for his own back, if I can get as many cliches into one sentence as possible. But winning 10 out of 11, or whatever it was, made everyone forget how drastic things had become under Jose. And it was like, oh, we're fine. We've got Pogba. He's one of the best players in the world. Yeah. Martial and Rashford are scoring. Everything's wonderful. Our defence is looking solid. Matic and Herrera rejuvenated. We're going to win the Champions League. And when the wheels came off, everyone was like, oh, he don't know what he's doing. And you forget that he inherited a team for a reason, for starters. Jose got sacked because results and the mood around the club had just disintegrated. You had players completely unhappy. Tactics didn't make any sense. The manager arguing with the players, the board. It was just completely fractured. Ollie came in, hit the ground running, and then everyone thought, oh, we're fixed. And we weren't. No. And we needed that.
I think part of that bounce back that Solskjaer got, that initial unprecedented bounce, which people call it a bounce, whatever you want to call it, it's still the best one anyone's ever had. It's usually a new manager bounces, you win 4 of the next 5 games. He won, like I said, 10 out of 11, culminating in
big wins
Paris.
as well, weren't they?
Yeah,
let's not. Chelsea away, Arsenal away, Spurs away, PSG away, obviously. Massive wins. Like, you can't just dismiss it and go, oh, because I remember when Mancini took over at City. I remember this. Part of the reason I think they signed it was because he had easy games for his first sort of 4 games, whatever, were like the bottom 10 clubs, whatever, and he won his first 4, and everyone was like, oh, But the reason but Ollie came in, and yes, we had the easy games at first. We had like Cardiff, Bournemouth, but then you had hard games, and he won them as well. Yeah, that was the impressive thing. Not he won his first 4 or 5 games, which I think Jose actually might have been able to do. It was that he carried it on to, as you mentioned, having a sort of managerial bounce that no one's ever had before or since. I mean, he broke records, didn't he?
Yeah, it was the best. I think it was the best start to a manager's career in the Premier League.
This is a good reminder of it. Even now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Manchester United under Ole, have the best record other than City and Liverpool.
I was going to bring that up.
Since he took over.
Yeah, I think it's 20. No one's got any better. I think Chelsea we've got 24 wins.
Right.
Only City and Liverpool have had more wins in the Premier League since Solskjaer took over than Man United, which doesn't seem possible, but I think we've got 12 toward the back end of last season, and we've had 12 this season, so 24. I think Chelsea are also on 24, and maybe Tottenham are on, or Leicester are also on 24. But no one's had more than us, except Liverpool and Chelsea, Liverpool and City, which just seems incredible. It's almost that clean sheet stat that's been sort of growing in the last month or so, where all of a sudden we had the second most clean sheets in Europe. And
you give him credit there then, because what was his priority in the summer? Obviously, was sorting out defence. Yeah, that's what he did. He spent 130 million quid. And there were times when we were questioning that.
Yeah,
I think we were saying Maguire especially, Wan-Bissaka. Most people seem to warm to straight away. There were a few question marks about him going forward, but I've heard a lot of doubters around Maguire. Was he worth it? Is he good enough? This, that, and the other. Listen, me and you've said it on this very show about no player is really worth £85 million. If you want to get all philosophical about it. They're not. No. But if you wanted him, that's what you had to pay. Was it worth it for Manchester United to pay that? Yes, I think it was.
Definitely. It's been world class. I think since Christmas. I think when he first came in, you could see more of an assurance in the defence. I think we've looked better as defenders. The defence has looked better in itself. I think the midfield was so poor in front of it for a long run of games that we still conceded a lot of goals. But the shape and Wan-Bissaka's defending and Maguire's one of those players where the ball comes in from a corner or the ball comes in from a cross and he just heads it clear. And you think, oh, it's just easy headers. But he's heading 10 of them clear a game.
See him at Everton.
Someone else, was it 14 clearances?
It was ridiculous.
It was unbelievable.
Constant money. And my biggest gripe with De Gea is he don't come off his line.
No.
And I don't think he ever will.
No, I think
we're kidding ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like when Ryan Giggs was 37 and we thought he was going to start pinging in crosses perfectly on corners.
Yeah.
It weren't going to happen.
That's how it is. That's how it is now.
Deal with it. You know what I mean? He more than made up for it in other areas, but it's the same day. I don't think he's suddenly going to start commanding his area.
No.
You have to say, it's just that's a flaw in his game. He's probably going to be like that for the rest of his career. But if he's got someone like Maguire who can do that, and at Goodison we saw that.
I think we saw it against City as well.
No, you're right. Yeah.
What was the point I was making is that before Christmas we looked better defensively, but it wasn't translating into sort of goals conceded. We're still 4th, 5th best goals conceded in the league. But since this run, Matic has come back in. I think there's just been a bit more confidence. The midfield is making more chances. We're scoring more goals. As we've said since before this period started, when you start scoring goals, you inevitably concede less as well because teams, they don't give up, but it's hard to. When you're 2-0 down, it's hard to quite have that energy to counter-attack like you do when it's 0-0.
That's a great point because you saw the Watford game.
Yeah,
and I was watching Watford. Obviously, we all were, but I was behind the goal, Stretford end, and it amazed me that Watford were doing this high press. And I was like, Troy Deeney, high press, really? This ain't gonna last long. But for the first half an hour, they were on us, and I thought this is like looking worrying. Obviously, we go ahead, we get another goal. They're knackered because they've been doing this high press, and as you just mentioned, they're deflated because now they've got a 2-goal lead to make up. Yeah, and it's like, and you could almost see it physically just drain from them all. Deeney goes off, and the other lad, I don't know if it was Sarah or whoever, they made another change. Yeah, but it was, the game was gone. It was almost like they just wanted the final whistle. Yeah, because you're right, because once you've given yourself a chance or given yourself goals, not a bit of the sort of stuffing out teams, it helps. How many times is it on the third game? Remember we had that run with Van der Sar and Vidic and Real?
13 clean sheets in a row?
That wasn't like, if you actually watch most of the games, it wasn't backs to the wall defending.
No, it wasn't like the best defending you've ever seen.
No, it was literally, we would just dominate teams. Yeah. And they'd be lucky if they got, that's why I love Van der Sar so much, because he could give him nothing to do for 89 minutes. Yeah. And he'd pull an absolute worldie out of the bag in the 90th minute to keep you in the game. So it's that sort of thing of, you just, not necessarily dominating possession, but getting those leads, getting those goals, having outlets that are effective. Bruno, Martial, whoever. And it's just making it psychologically difficult for teams as well.
Yeah, because it's 24 goals scored, 2 conceded in the last 10. And I think now we are seeing, like I said, when you're scoring goals, the defence automatically looks better because they have less to do. So, but also, in the games where they have had more to do, against Everton, against City, Everton, obviously, we did concede, but that was a silly goal early on. During that period in the second half where Everton were pressing, trying to go for the winner, we never really looked like conceding. Same against City. I couldn't believe how much possession they had and how much they had the ball in and around dangerous areas. And it never really... I can think of it... Jesus had a shot, Foden had a shot.
Had that gone in, that would have been a clanger by McKay. Yeah. I know it looks like a good save, but it's tipping it over. Come on, there's only way that it's going in is through him. Mahrez had a cross shot. Yeah, from where I was stood, I was at the other end of the ground. That worried me slightly, but it was one of those displays where that's under Fergie. You give him a 10 out of 10. Yeah. Oh, you nailed it.
Yeah, exactly. And we had more shots and more shots on target than them in a game where we had 27% possession.
That's what I mean.
So it's the defense is looking solid. So now I think it is that front end of the pitch where we've seen Bruno come in. It looks like the names that are repeating and, as far as we're aware, have serious weight to them are Bellingham, obviously. There's no denying that. We saw him and his mum and dad at Carrington yesterday. Grealish and Sancho. We know for certain United are interested in all three of those. And that would... Do you think that takes... Where do you think... We've sort of talked about the players before. We know most of us. We know our thoughts on these players. We can maybe go into Grealish a little bit because the perception of him, I think, has changed this season. But where do you think that kind of level of transfer puts us next season?
All three of them. If we brought in those three players, injuries, depending on injuries. Yeah. I suppose if you got them and we lost Paul Pogba, which I think is inevitable. I know people are now saying, he's going to sign a new deal and he's happy now because we've made some.
Let's assume he's leaving.
Yeah, let's assume he's leaving. I think that if we don't get any long-term injuries during the season to important players, I think we're definitely in the top 3.
Yeah.
I think we're probably not at a title challenge because it's a bit of an ask to go from challenging the top 4 to a title challenge in one
That
summer.
doesn't happen, does it? We
No.
saw Liverpool. You
Yeah.
have to do a 1 year of... You have to win 25 games in a season, one season. You need that kind of... We're comfortable winning a lot of games, and we're nowhere near that yet.
No, we're not. But you look at it individually at that team, and let's say, you've got David De Gea or even Dean Henderson, maybe. There's a question mark there. I know that sounds crackers, but it's
possible.
It's possible. Either of those 2 in net, you look at it, you have either Brandon Williams or Luke Shaw if you're going for a flat back 4, Maguire and either Lindelof and or Bailly. I think everyone's happy with even Tuanzebe, Wan-Bissaka. Then you look in your midfield. If you bring in someone like Grealish, or personally, I've been saying this for years. This idea that you have to have 2 holding midfielders for every game, I think, is a nonsense.
No,
I mean, I get it for City, okay.
Yeah.
And if you maybe playing the Scousers or a massive game in Europe away or whatever, but we go to Bournemouth and play 2 holding midfielders, and we still fucking lose, and it's like so annoying to me because. I get it because we've not had the options, but now if we've got, say, Bruno, and if you want to play Grealish in midfield, or you wanted to play him a bit further up, whatever, you can have just one holding midfielder. You can have like a Matic or a Fred or McTominay, or even if you pushed McTominay a bit further up and said, don't just sit as a 6, be more of an 8.
Do a bit more. I think there's been I think part of the reason why, I think there's 2 reasons why Solskjaer has been keen on the 2 holding players. One, because he likes it.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's because he doesn't rate our defensive midfielders, I think, enough that what he thinks that one of them can do the whole job. Certainly Fred's early form at the start of the season and last season, I don't think he thought we had one man who could be the pivot by himself. And also, I think that we're in a position where when it was, even when Rashford was fit, but this was sort of established under when Martial was there and stuff, when we had Lingard, Pereira, Dan James and Martial and Rashford hopefully together, but not always. I think we're in a position where more attacking players, because of the quality of them, wouldn't have necessarily led to more goals. I think we're almost like, do you know what I mean? I think sometimes managers stick loads of strikers on, get all the strikers on, and none of them are actually doing the job they need to be doing. So you don't look at it. I think we were kind of protecting ourselves from the fact that we couldn't break teams down. Even, Fred and Pereira and Lingard are probably no more effective than Lingard and Matic, because Pereira's not going to get you an assist no matter where he plays.
It's a good point. It's like, forgive me, not trying not to go on too much of a tangent, when England played Croatia at Wembley and we had to go for 2008 Euros.
Yeah.
And we had to win to go to the tournament and we didn't. We finished that game with like 5 strikers.
Yeah.
Because McLaren, Wally with a brolly, just literally threw Defoe, Crouch, I forget who else, Owen or whoever it was. Every striker he had, just on it. It was just chaos.
Yeah.
But we didn't break it.
No.
We didn't score. We just had loads of attackers.
Yeah, exactly.
Like endless chickens trying to shoot. And it just looked a mess.
Yeah.
We didn't go through to the tournament. And there's an element of that. And I think a massive sort of influence now is Bruno.
Yeah.
Because you have him as a sort of the talisman in the middle, if you will. And that enables you, I think, to have maybe a different type of midfield.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to necessarily have 2 holding midfielders behind him. You can maybe have one holding midfielder behind him, one more of a box-to-box, or one even alongside him. And because he's pulling the strings, keeping the ball, making things happen with it, whereas a Pereira or a Lingard weren't.
No.
And it pains me to say that because I've been...
Same with that.
I don't take any pleasure
No.
in throwing them both under the bus.
No.
But you have to call it as you see it, and they've been pretty poor.
Yeah.
So it just enables you to do a lot more. And I think, there's this debate and people saying, well, he's just come in and it's replaced Paul Pogba. But it's different now as well, because I think this season we just haven't had Paul Pogba. And when we did have Paul Pogba last season, especially early when he came back, not early, but when he came in after Ollie took over, it was great.
Yeah, it was.
And it worked. And in many ways, you can look back and go, well, we had Herrera and Matic as holding midfielders, but Herrera, was more of an 8.
Yeah, and Matic looked as though his career was winding down, let alone his time at United. He wasn't the man he is now, and I don't know whether that's a rest or a change in sort of feeling around the club or just a bit more confidence. I can't quite explain Matic's resurgence.
I mean, I've been a massive sort of fan of Fred this season. I've been impressed with him. I was completely on the fence with him at the beginning of the season. I didn't know if he was going to make it or not as a United player. I wasn't sure. And he's shown that, to me, has definitely got a career at Manchester United. But Matic, I mean, as late as probably, December or whatever.
Yeah.
If you say he's going in January, I'd have been like, yeah, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
Now I'd be gutted if he was injured.
Yeah.
And I mean that. And you watching him, I was watching him in the derby. And I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, he was.
I did. And people were going, you're overrating him. I thought if you actually watched what he did,
it was brilliant.
He was superb.
There was points in there was one. It was in the sort of 90th minute or 85th minute where someone saw someone sprinting out from midfield, pressing at the halfway line. I was like, "Who's that?" It was Matic, sprinting, and then sprinting back in. Where's this energy come from?
People forget he was a 10.
Yeah.
In the start of his career.
But yeah, when he was in where was he at?
Well, he went Benfica in it for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was a 10 and then adapted to become like a 6 or whatever. But he's got that in his locker. When he's got the ball, he can make things happen as well. So, yes, he'll have those little bursts of getting back in, and he can put a foot in. We know he's strong. But he's also good on the ball. He's not just get it and give it.
No.
If he actually... There's a couple of times when players, because they expect him to just pass or step off him, and he'll carry it.
Yeah.
And then you've got Fred, who's similar, who likes to run with the ball, and you've got 2 midfielders there who can carry the ball. And apparently, I might be wrong, but I think Bruno's all right with the ball at his feet as well.
Remains to be seen.
The jury's out. Let's not get carried away.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you've got a midfield there who ain't just water carriers.
No.
Whereas 3 months ago, we did.
And it almost seems like I don't know if it's me as well, but it seems like Fred's taking less shots now. Bruno's in. It was almost like he was like, well, if Pereira's taking shots, let me have a few shots. Because now there seems to have been Bruno seems to, as we've said, I am almost scared to overhype him because I feel like we're only a few bad games away from everyone pulling the rug out.
You know what? This is the thing. We mentioned those players before, so I didn't want to watch you.
Yeah.
But like Di Maria was playing a month in his first month. Memphis was playing a month in his first month.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Bruno's going to go the same way as them, but you have that in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Let's try, but it's so difficult not to get carried away because he's so good.
And I think the thing that Di Maria and Memphis never had, and no one ever said they had, is this kind of leadership and this work, the work rate, and the fact that he just seems to have galvanised the whole squad. And we make more forward runs now. When people have got, it's not just him. When he's got the ball, people make runs because people know he can find him. People know he can find them. But I don't have the stats on this. But when you're watching the games, it seems like there are just more forward runs happening now because there's a change in. We think that, if you make the run, it might be found. Martial's a great example of that, where he actually looks like he's trying to make runs in behind now. Whereas it seemed like he was just like, no one's ever going to find me anyway. Of course.
It's only natural.
Yeah.
If you're making runs and you're seeing Pereira shooting and it goes into Rose Ed, and then 10 minutes later you do the same run and he does the same things, you think, why am I bothering?
No.
Do you know what I mean? And what I like about Fernandes, and what, again, you're right, when I compared him to like Memphis and Di Maria, the difference is, did you ever see Memphis or Di Maria giving it to the ref, giving it to the opposition manager, G'ing up players? No. And to be fair, that wasn't expected of him. But Fernandes does.
Yeah,
he will shout at people.
Him, isn't there?
He will stick a foot in.
Yeah.
He will have a row.
Yeah.
He's almost like got all the sides to his game you'd want from a midfielder. He can attack. He can stick a foot in. He's not a box-to-box sort of Roy Keane-esque type player. He's an attacking player.
Yeah, but he's got a tenacity and an anger to him.
Word.
Yeah.
And he has got that. And, the fact that when even in the Wolves game, he's shouting at Jesse Lingard.
Yeah.
Now, Lingard, regardless of what you think of him, is an experienced Manchester United player.
And relatively senior player. Senior player, now,
27 or whatever, 200 games under his belt. And you've got Bruno making his debut, shouting at him, make that run.
Yeah.
And it just shows you the confidence he's got and the sort of that little bit of swagger that we've missed from players coming to Manchester United.
And the difference as well, I think we've slowly drifted towards a kind of a vacuum of leaders in the club.
Yeah.
When when we brought these players in like Di Maria, even like Schweinsteiger and Falcao, people who used to being leaders at their other clubs. Di Maria maybe not so much, but we still had Rooney there. We still had, Carrick was still there. We still had Valencia, people who have been there for a long time who considered themselves sort of leaders in their areas. And it almost seemed as though it was just it was destined not to work because how are these players going to interact? How is this going to work? How's that going to work? Now we've got this vacuum of leadership where we're crying out for someone like Bruno, and this hierarchy's kind of immediately clicked into place where he comes in and we go, oh right, yeah, he's the man in midfield. He's the man. No one needs to worry about that. Martial is sort of doing a different thing now, but the midfield, Bruno Fernandes, especially in Pogba's absence, he's the guy. And I think we've been crying out for that, and no one has had that to be fair to them, to the likes of Schweinsteiger and Di Maria and Falcao, they weren't afforded that because they came into a team that already had hierarchical structures set up.
I think as well, going back to you make a point, it's like with Schweinsteiger, Mourinho just didn't like him. Didn't like his attitude, didn't like him. When Matic came into the club, I remember his debut at United, and he was telling everyone where to go. Very much a leader, and I thought, here we go. But I think with Jose, he almost could stifle that in a way because he was so overpowering with everyone, and he ruled the roost so much. It was almost difficult for certain players to become that leader. Whereas now, Ole isn't quite like that, so he's encouraging players to try and step forward. Maguire does in a certain way. Fernandes has. I think there's perhaps one or two, like towards the back in the last season, we saw it more with Herrera, and that's another reason I was sad to see him go. But we're seeing it now with the players that you mentioned, and I think that you need that. You need that, and I think the funny thing is going back to the derby, which I'll never tire of mentioning.
No, just talk about it all day.
Just talk about it constantly. City didn't have that.
No,
City didn't have it. And I spoke to City fans, and I know none of them will be in the comments today, so City fans are watching this. But I spoke to the few City fans I'm unfortunate to be friends with, and they were saying that. I said to you, don't seem to have the leaders. You don't have a company. You don't have someone who's going to be in the refs ear or telling
even
players,
like Joe Hart. Had that for a long time.
You had just players to me like kids,
the defence
kids,
especially.
Arguing with each other, arguing with the ref, but not in a way of like. You know when like you used to get
like Chelsea
Keno
or
in the ref's ear, like, come on ref, but just like bickering, and Mike Dean's like, just go away, and that's yellow. But they didn't have that, and we did have that. We seem to have like a bit of leadership there in our team, and we've been missing that. We've been missing for a long time, because even going back to like you mentioned Carrick, I love Michael Carrick, but even when he was like the leader, he was very quiet.
Yeah, he's not vocal.
You had Ashley Young who was leader. And I love Ashley Young. I know I keep saying this and then criticising him, but his performances didn't match his leadership.
No. And also
that's an issue sometimes.
He didn't play every week.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another thing. Like Maguire is the captain. There's a good story about him. You don't know whether this was set up by the club or this was his idea, but he went around each sort of section of the club, introduced himself,
I'll
going
say
around.
Something about this though. I like Harry Maguire.
Yeah.
But our kid works at United, and he said that I think there was Igalo and someone else with him, and they were a lot more friendly and gregarious.
Well, either way,
the focus was on him in the press, but
there was a few of them that did it.
And he was like the. But I've met Harry Maguire. We spent a bit of time with him on Devils, and he's a nice guy. He seems a little bit quiet, but he seemed like a nice guy and friendly enough. So I think it might just take him a little while to become that leader at Manchester United, because I don't care how big and strong you were at Leicester City.
It's
not
not
Manchester
the same,
United is a completely different kettle of fish, especially when you're the world's most expensive defender and our new saviour.
Yeah. Shall we have a little look forward to the game on Thursday? We've got the preview coming out tomorrow, so be tuned in for that. But just a little more, almost without getting too deep, the sort of political side, the coronavirus, which is, like we said at the start of the show, has gone from being this kind of, let's have a laugh that Liverpool might not win the league and it sounds a bit like a beer, to Serie A has been suspended. The game against LASK is being played behind closed doors. Pep Guardiola's come out today saying that he expects games to be played behind closed doors in England. We're sort of drifting towards a real, not crisis, but this is sort of devastating to football at this point, isn't it?
We don't want to be melodramatic, but I've been,
have you ever seen anything like this?
I've been got football since the 80s.
Yeah.
I've never known matches to be played behind closed doors because of a virus or an epidemic. And again, if someone wants to get in the comments and prove me wrong, fair play to you, but I can't remember ever having that. I mean, I can remember going to Old Trafford and there being a bloody bomb scare over a bloody fake bomb, but nothing like this.
No.
And yes, at the beginning, we were sort of laughing, weren't we all, Liverpool, and now you realise people are dying. Yeah. People in Manchester, we've had it in North Manchester, the elderly especially are vulnerable. And they're taking these precautions for a reason. So, without being too sort of morbid.
Sallow and...
Yeah. You got to keep people safe.
Yeah. And
you can't legislate. If you're saying, this is a disease where people shaking hands or whatever can catch it, giving it to someone else. There was some nonsense about we'll ban 70-year-olds. Well, is Roy Hodgson not in the dugout then this week? Because he's banned from his own game.
I'd love that,
I bet he would.
Get the caravan.
Yeah,
Get the caravan, we're going away.
Yeah, this is what I mean. So, if that's what has to happen, which I think you're right, because we seem to be 2 weeks behind the continent, Europe, in terms of where the virus is at. So if they're playing games behind closed doors in Italy, maybe in the next week or two, we might see that in England. And if that's the case, then so be it. I mean, it's sad and I'll be gutted, but obviously,
So
there's more to it than just watching people kicking a ball around a
So keeping on the football side of things, would you have any preference, or do you think there's an obvious way to do things? Let's say this does escalate to the point where obviously the games in Italy have been suspended. I don't think there's currently any sort of time schedule for when these games are going to get played or how long it's suspended for. It's all kind of wait and see. Let's say England has the same thing happens to England in a couple of weeks. Do you think it will be a case of the league is ended as it is now, Liverpool champions, United finish 5th? Do you think it will be there is no champion crown this season? Like, that's the joke. What do you actually think?
We'd all, if we were going to be brutally honest, yes, it's very serious. We take it serious. We'd all love it if it stopped Liverpool somehow getting the Premier League. Let's be honest about that. But it ain't going to happen.
No.
I personally think the Euros is going to have to get scrapped. I think you might have to just delay games and then play the season into June.
So you think,
and just not have the Euros.
Maybe have it next summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the obvious one to me. I mean, I'm not,
because the thing is, I don't.
I've not got all the answers by any stretch, but that seems like I don't think now you can just say, right, well, if you're 5th now, I'm not just saying this because we're out of the top 4.
No.
That's where you finished, and that's that. I don't think you say, well, Liverpool champions because they were going to win it anyway.
Yeah.
No, I think you have to finish the season, and I think that you just have to postpone games and just postpone. If you have to postpone a season by a few weeks or a month, then do that and then just don't have the Euros. That would be my suggestion and what I think makes sense. Others may disagree.
Yeah, the Euros, especially this year of all years, with it being so spread out.
I mean, I didn't like that idea anyway, regardless. No,
I quite like it.
I think you should have a nation where it's based.
I think for the World Cup, it's vital that you have that. Yeah. But I think for the Euros, I kind of like... It almost seems like we could do this every time where it's spread out.
Maybe.
It's kind of like a big tournament for everyone.
Setting my ways, something different, I suppose. But
the travel involved would be.
I mean, it's not just that, is it? It's an Olympic year, is it not?
Yeah, in Tokyo.
Exactly, which is sort of near the Far East where a lot of this is kicking off. So there's lots of issues, logistical, nightmarish issues for world football, world sport. So from a domestic point of view, postponement and then crack on. That's what I'd suggest. I mean, it'd be obviously, I don't want to keep repeating myself. Yes, it's serious illness, but it'd be devastating from a football fan point of view if United had to finish in 5th with 10 games or 7 games left to go.
With the run we've been on.
Yeah.
And it's funny as well, isn't it? Like, it's football. It's almost as though football now. People can get the illness, people can die. That's one thing people say, you bothered about that, are you? As soon as football's involved, because the money involved in football and the sort of the deep-rooted kind of roots it has in culture and all this sort of thing, it seems to be, it's almost impervious to almost everything. Sport is impervious to these sorts of things generally, which is why it's so shocking when Serie A's cancelled, suspended, or United's games being played behind closed doors. It's like, this must be serious, because these billionaires who have paid loads of money for these TV rights, for these players, for all this, that even they're willing to lose a bit of money for it. I think that's why it seems so striking that football has been affected. Were you planning on going to the game against LASK?
Away?
Yeah.
No. I'll be honest with you. I rarely do aways anymore, especially European aways. I wasn't. I feel for. I know lads that were, and I feel for them because you're looking for support. It's like my mate who's going. He was saying, "I've only just recovered from Bruges, and then you've got another one to go to." They come thick and fast, don't they?
It's meant to be like a 17-hour train or something as well, isn't it? It's like a nightmare to get there.
Yeah, so a few lads I know will probably just end up getting levered at home instead.
Do you think that will affect how the game is, the intensity of the game, the way the game's played?
You'd expect it probably to be at our advantage because it's their home side, not ours, and they'd be up for it because it's a massive game for them. No disrespect to them, but Manchester United coming to town is still a big draw.
I think this is the furthest they've ever advanced in a European competition.
This is sort of like,
it's no knock on them to say that.
It's on your grandkids' tackle, isn't it? For them? Whereas for us, it's like another sort of one to strike off.
Yeah.
So you would think if you had to guess that it'd give us a slight advantage. But we've seen it before. We don't know, do we?
No.
We don't know. It's the great unknown, literally, because you're not going into this game with it being played behind closed doors because they're being punished for something.
No.
Which has happened in the past.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Or where you think, all right, okay, well, this is, and that sometimes can make teams like,
that can have a strange atmosphere.
This is out of order. Really.
Yeah.
This is literally like
the government have told us
we ain't got any choice.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see how it plays out. I mean, I would have United as heavy favourites for this game anyway.
Yeah.
Looking at the two teams and the form we're in, I know they're in good form as well, but they're not in a similar form to us. Certainly not the level of opposition that we've had. So I would, excuse me, fancy us for this game. In many ways, you just don't really want curveballs like this, because it's
just something to take into account that you didn't have to.
It's
going
to be very weird watching it in on the
it will be weird.
It's like,
very strange. Before we go, make sure to if you listen to this, it comes out as a podcast as well. So if you listen on iTunes or on Spotify, do leave us a review and a 5-star review at that, not just any old review.
Yes.
Give us a 5-star review, and if you leave a comment, the best ones or the funniest ones, usually if you make us laugh, that's the best way, we'll be given a mug each week on Howson's Brew. So one was given out yesterday, and we will give out another one next week. So if you enjoy this, like I said, it's downloadable on iTunes, on Spotify, everywhere, but leave us a review on iTunes, and a 5-star review, and we will give you a mug if it's a fun or good one. We'll move into the comments a little bit. Give us some questions. Let us know your thoughts on particularly what we're talking about at the start of the show, the likes of Grealish, Bellingham, Sancho, this new kind of wave of transfer targets that United have been seeing here. And let us know what you think to the way that United are trying to conduct deals. We saw Solskj&ael yesterday coming out and saying that we're working 2 transfer windows in advance. And it does seem as though there's more of a cohesive structure to the way United are approaching transfers since Solskjaer's come in. Someone's saying we'll be watching the match on TV. Why not spend another 200 million on Neymar? Probably not, eh? He just gets it. He's you know what? That's been a terrible move for his career, hasn't it? The PSG move.
It has, and it's a shame because... it's a sort of lesser one than when R9 went to Inter when he was at Barca.
Yeah.
When he went to Inter. And that was a movie I don't think he should have made. I think he should have stayed at Barcelona. I know he didn't exactly, his career still works out quite well.
He was all right, wasn't he?
Yeah, he said to do all right. But with Neymar going to the French league at that stage in his career, when he was at that Barcelona side where it was such a joy to watch him, and even though I hate Luis Suarez with a passion, but you had him and Messi and Neymar, it was something else. He's gone to Paris, and he's done okay, but he's missed a lot of games from injury.
He's
done nothing really in the Champions League, have they?
No.
We know better than anyone. And it just seems like just a waste of time.
He's
like
kind of
drifted, waste of
talent. I wouldn't say insignificance, but he's kind of drifted towards that. Oh yeah, Neymar. Whereas before it was like Neymar is exciting, he's on all the adverts, he's cool. Now he's just
funny you mention adverts. I was over in Brazil for the World Cup that was there, obviously, and I've never seen anything like it in terms of coverage of one player. Yeah, it was just different levels than anything I've ever seen. He was on every poster. He was on every. You watched. You have the telly on. You mentioned adverts. Every advert was Neymar. The occasional one with Pele. Not just flogging Viagra, but other things as well. But it was just like Neymar. And when he got injured, you think it was like there was national mourning.
You could tell because
people were like, it was like they lost a family member.
And the Germany game, you could tell Brazil looked like. Do you know sometimes in a game when someone breaks their leg or something, and afterwards the players they're visibly sort of drained and distressed. They look like that from kickoff in that game. It was like Neymar's dead.
Do you know what it was?
Why are we here?
It was 98 when Ronaldo was R9 again. Funnily enough, wasn't right, and everyone knew it. And
you could just see
the players were like, there was something going on where he's not right.
It's just weird, wasn't it?
It was going for that. The whole of Brazil was like in mourning. The players were completely sort of like empty, and Germany did something unthinkable, just battered them in their own back garden. It was mad. But you're right, like he was a star, and it was all set up for him to fill that void that Ronaldo and Messi, because he's a few years younger than him. Not like
is he 27 now?
Yeah, so he's got like
35.
5 more years in him. Yeah, they've probably got 1 or 2. So he could be that world, and he still could. He could. Yeah, but it's very difficult for him. And I think he needs to get himself into
somewhere else. Get back to
England or Spain.
Yeah, I think Spain is the one.
Yeah, because I think if he goes to, say, he went to Germany, if he goes to Munich, who cares?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Unless he tears up in the Champions League. I don't see him going because I don't see anyone paying the money for him.
No,
I don't think.
Maybe City, but I just
maybe
don't think
City, but we don't even know what they're going to be doing with themselves if they do get anything to do with this ban. So I think Spain is the obvious one. Maybe I don't know. Maybe someone like Juve might scrape together enough cash, but I don't know. For me, it seems like move back to Spain, and he gets a lot of stick Neymar. Some of it is warranted, but when he's on form, he's a joy to
amazing.
Watch. He's a joy to watch.
And he's like...
you want players like that to watch.
Yeah, he's just so exciting, isn't he? Someone in the comments saying, 26 games, 16 goals and 3 assists. Do you think Martial is due an apology for the overreaction in January when people were claiming he couldn't be a number 9 at United?
One thing I will say this about Martial, and we were talking about this, we did a preview, me and you and Maka before. I hate it with a passion when people compare him and Rashford as a stick to beat him with. I don't get it. Why are we not comparing Martial to people like Son or Firmino, whose stats aren't as good as his, and yet are in teams, especially in Firmino's case, that are playing far more attacking football? Yeah, we don't do that.
They score more goals than us. And
we'll try and
Firmino
put him against Rashford
Yeah.
and beat them both with that stick. I don't get it. Well, if you look at Martial's numbers, they're great. And I think, in answer to the lad's question or the girl's question, yeah, I think he does deserve a bit of apology. I think, and more than that, Ollie deserves credit. Ollie didn't. That wasn't an easy decision. Ollie came in and dropped an £80 million striker who'd scored a lot of goals for United, who was only a number 9, dropped him and said to Martial, "You're my number 9 now. I'm sticking with you." And this season, all right, there was a little bit of change when Rashford had to go through the middle because Martial got injured. But when Martial was fit, he was the number 9. And literally is the number 9. But, his words.
Do you think... because Solskjaer made that comment about he wants a striker that will break the nose to score a goal. And that was almost certainly aimed at Martial, wasn't it?
But then you can,
Do you think he's responded to that since then? Almost broke his legs to score a goal against City, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, to be fair. I think with Martial, I see a sort of an evolution of him as a player. And I think you see it in a lot of strikers. You saw it going back. When Andy Cole was at Newcastle, he scored 40 goals in a season. And he never did that at United. Now, does that mean he was a better player at Newcastle than was at United? No.
Yeah.
I'm not comparing. I'm not saying Martial's going to be as good as Andy Cole, because I love Andy Cole. Yeah. What I'm saying is he changed as a player. He had to adapt his game to fit in with Manchester United. Marcus Rashford's changed his game since he burst onto the scene. Is he as good as... Is he worse now than he was in 2016? No, of course he's not. He's better. But he's changed a little bit. And it's the same with Martial. And he's had to adapt his game and become a different type of player. And he's still getting assists. Twice, exactly. Yeah. And, he was all about coming in off the left, wasn't it? Now he's down through the middle. And he's had to learn when to drop off, when to press on, when to make those runs. And a lot of the time, he's had poor service.
Yeah, definitely. I think something else as well, that people... In the past, I have been guilty of getting dragged into that Rashford versus Martial thing. Not because I think
someone could probably drag a clip up of me doing it somewhere in my lifetime. I'm just saying, if I have, I don't want to do it anymore.
But I agree that it isn't productive, and it's always one of those things where afterwards you think, what was the point in that?
I mean, I don't know if it's before your time. I don't remember there being a York and Cole FC.
No. Or Sheringham versus Solskjaer. Yeah.
Or even Hughes and Canada.
I think when you win it, you don't need to. Yeah, you're allowed to like both people. Whereas now everything's become a tweet or a stat or a comparison, and everything has to be, since this person came in, this person's got this, that everything is so...
Even to the point where, if Martial scores a goal, you'll have people saying, if Rashford scored that, everyone will love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, everyone does love it.
Yeah, but we still cheered.
Yeah. What you about?
I know.
But it gets that, it's just madness.
And also, that's the thing we talked about on the preview of Full-Time Devils. Check that out if you haven't seen it. That'll be out. When will that be out?
Tonight. So this is live, so it'll be out this evening. It'll be out Wednesday. What day are we on? Tuesday evening.
Yeah. But we're talking in there about how Fernandes coming in has made people compare him to Pogba. It's like, what's the point?
Can't wait, can you?
But what also has happened is Igalo's come in, and the ball comes over, that great control, the control holding his man off on the edge, on the halfway line, rolling it around the corner, which led to the goal against City, has led people to say that's what Martial needs to be doing. But what actually sometimes happens, as we saw with York, Cole, Sheringham, Solskjaer, is you have different players for different occasions, and one player doesn't do everything, and then you smack him over the head when someone else is better at one thing. You use Martial when you need someone like Martial, and you bring Igalo on at certain times, and you use him when you need him. Like,
you can't play Martial every single game of all these games thick and fast. And also, if you want to compare these players to someone, why not take the piss out of Arsenal? Lacazette, whose numbers are terrible compared to any of our strikers.
Yeah, exactly.
Or have a go at the likes of City, Jesus, whose numbers aren't as great as Martial's, and who cost, I think, just the same.
About the same,
yeah. Why not do that? Why do you have to go United against United?
Yeah, Igalo shows what's wrong with Martial. Yeah.
Sammy Abraham's goals have dried up a lot. Why are you not saying, well, look at what Martial's doing compared to him? Why is it, Igalo versus Martial?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What are you even on about?
Yeah, exactly. What we got here? Someone said people could understand... Oh, is it someone saying Nigalo is better than Lukaku? Well, yeah, again, that's maybe a comparison you could. I don't think it's necessarily true, but
I don't mind that.
At least you don't play for United.
Yeah, Lukaku
anymore.
don't play for us, so I'm all, do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
fine, okay. Do you know what I mean? It just annoys me when we try to pit players against one
Yeah.
another and fans against each other, just arguing for Igalo FC versus Martial FC.
Yeah.
Come on.
And imagine playing as the lone striker when the people behind you are an out of form Dan James, Andres Pereira, and out of form Jesse Lingard and Fred. Like
You get to that point
no,
where...
no offense to Fred, creatively is not quite as good.
No,
as
no,
Fernandes,
and
is
it's
it?
like, you know...
It's a difficult spot to play.
I was
for Martial.
a little bit worried when Ollie said those comments about Martial breaking his nose, because sometimes I think we have that ethos, don't we? Of stick your head in, stick your foot in, blood and funny, or you're injured, just shake it off, get stuck in. And it's like, if someone that isn't their game, you don't necessarily want to turn them in from a, I don't know.
It's never going to be Duncan Ferguson.
I don't want to turn him from a Cristiano Ronaldo into a Dion Dublin.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? No disrespect
Andy
to Dion.
Carroll.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I don't want to...
Yeah.
But I can understand what Ollie's trying to do there. He's trying to say to him, come on, just
And I think times
make those runs and get in there.
There are times when Martial, certainly maybe a little bit before now as well, like we said, but you do think even within the player that he is, could look like he's going through things a bit more. But again, like I said, he's been excellent this season and he's had such poor service for so much of it. And now all of a sudden he's got, 4 goals in his last 5 games in the league since Bruno Fernandes has come in?
My one criticism of Martial would be, I don't think he realises at times how good he is. No, that might sound crackers, but someone like Eden Hazard.
Yes.
Like, if you said, is Eden Hazard as good as Martial, most people say he's a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't think he is. And people could clip that up, I don't care. I don't, seriously.
Yeah.
I don't.
When
I think
you
the
sort of
difference
break
between
down
Hazard
what they
and
can do
Martial
with the ball
is
and-
that Eden Hazard thinks he's the greatest player in the planet.
Yeah.
And Martial doesn't.
No.
And I think he should do, because he should have that swagger. I'm not saying he's the greatest player in the planet. He should know how good he is. He can beat players. He can finish with either foot. He can get in behind. He can...
He's decent in the air as well.
Yeah, he is decent. He can control it. You saw it in the first half against City. He brought that down. No one was expecting that.
No.
I was like, oh, he's controlled that. I think you don't think he was.
Well, round the corner.
Nobody drops. He drops over,
Yeah.
and he just controlled it perfectly.
Oh, right,
and
yeah.
he got his shot wasn't the best.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. He's got so much to his game, and he's strong as well. He's not like a waif. So I just think if he had that little bit more, do you know what? I'm actually
Because I think he's got this kind of cool, calm, doesn't smile type attitude. I think he's just a bit of an introvert,
And if you
I think he's just a bit of a quiet lad.
Look at him with the other players as well. He gets on with them all.
Yeah.
Him and ironically, we all pit. Well, not all of us, but people pick Rashford and Martial against each other. They love each other.
Yeah, and you see Bruno and Martial on the bench,
Yeah.
like laughing out loud
Exactly.
together against
He
City
obviously
the other
gets
day.
on with Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
I think the only one he might have an issue is Pereira. We've seen the meme of him grabbing him by his face. What are you doing? Well, I think, that's a different story. But no, I think he's an introvert. And 19, comes over for a foreign country, doesn't know anyone. Then he's got the Sun, not a newspaper, that absolute rag that calls itself a newspaper, the Sun, plastering garbage about his wife and all that on the front pages, which for any youngster isn't nice.
No.
Do you know what I mean? He's having to deal with that. Gets dropped from the France squad, he falls out with Jose, he's replaced by Sanchez, misses out on the World Cup, misses out on winning a World Cup. Lot going on there. Lot going on.
Yeah.
And he's come through it all.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not the same, but it's quite similar. I did a summer in Mali, and it was a bit of a test for me.
Yeah. Well, people act like moving country, having to learn a new language, having the pressure of making loads of money, and obviously making loads of money is a great thing in it. But it's not like it's not necessarily an easy thing. Obviously, it's nice to have loads of money, but it's not an easy thing. As the postman keeps ringing the bell in the background there.
You saw it with Zaha.
Yeah.
Zaha's
Yes, great example.
He said he came to Manchester. He's in a house in Bramhall. Didn't know anyone. Fergie signed him. Moyes took over as manager. How many managers has Martial had? 4.
At
Louis
least.
Van Gaal signed him.
Yeah.
Then Jose. Then Ollie. Sorry, 3.
Oh, 3.
3, right.
Seems like more than that, doesn't it?
She's had 3 managers
Yeah.
in 4 years, whatever. Yeah. He had the press before he even kicked the ball saying he's a waste of money.
Yeah.
So if that's in his ear, that's not going to help you. Then he had all that expectation because he had such a good start. It's not easy.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like we forget players are human as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And there is that element to it. And I think that we have to sort of look at that and say, you know what? This kid's been through a lot. He's done well. He's doing well. he looks like he might be getting better.
I hope he gets 20 goals this season because it's just. I know it doesn't really matter.
Sometimes you feel it's arbitrary, but I get where you're coming from.
20 seems so much more than 90. I think just the opinion and the public opinion of him will change so much if he does. And talking, just bringing it back to sort of the transfers look forward. Jude Bellingham yesterday got driven to Carrington by his dad. And Martial was only 3 years older than that when he came to United. Like, these are children, basically. You know, Jude Bellingham is a child, a 16-year-old child.
Yeah, of course he is.
But if he joins United and he has 3 bad games, he'll be over the back, all over the back of the papers. He's not worth the money. What a waste! All this, people act like people aren't.
Well, this is the
footballers
thing.
aren't humans just because they earn a lot of money.
He'll be able to probably go to his mum and dad's house that night after a bad game.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe crash on in their spare room or whatever, or might, whatever how the situation is. Have his dad having that word with him. Go out with his family, spend a bit of time back home in wherever he's from, Birmingham or whatever. Martial, if he was having difficulties at home, struggling to settle, he's on his own. That's what Zaha was saying. He was saying, I was just left to my own devices. So yeah, you do have to remember that. And going back to the Jude Bellingham thing, I was speaking to a Birmingham City fan a few weeks ago when it looked like we were going to sign him, then it went cold. And he was just raving about him. And he was saying, this kid is something very special. And I think if we could get him at 16 and handle him in the right way, and if we have got options, if we've got Sancho, Martial, Rashford, Grealish, Fernandes, and then you've got Bellingham, because I know he can play in all sorts of positions, and you're using him, spent Greenwood, you're using Bellingham, perhaps the way we should have used Dan James when he was a lot older, then you can nurture him, bring him in gradually. The way we have with Mason this season. Yeah. Give him sort of 10, 12 games in his first season, maybe double that, maybe a loan spell, I'm not sure, but get him going the right way, then maybe in 3 or 4 years, he's a regular, and if potentially he could be a world beater. Yeah, he's certainly one. I like the way we've gone about this as well. By the way, I saw one of the most bizarre tweets I've ever seen in the world of bizarre tweets. Go on. Someone had said that United had took him to Carrington or let him in Carrington and had meetings with him, and Fergie had met him, and someone tweeted it saying, "Fergie was a manager that retired. That's it. He needs to stay out of these things." And I thought, what are you on about? Yeah. That is the worst description of Sir Alex Ferguson's career I think I've ever read in my life.
Like he was just
a manager. He's like Ron Atkinson. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? What are you? And like, I don't know. Maybe Jude Bellingham's heard of Sir Alex, and maybe his dad has. And maybe that might impress him a bit to see the greatest football manager in the history of association football meeting you at the training ground.
I'm important enough to come and meet me.
And saying to you, this is, or I could see you, becoming a star like some of the players that I've had here when I was manager. Maybe that might encourage you to sign for Manchester
and also
United.
even if you think Fergie's retired, stay out of it. You still appreciate the fact that he's got some pulling power in terms of impressing people, regardless of whether you think, oh, shouldn't you be at home on the like? First of all, no, and second of all, it helps. What, do you not want United to sign good players?
What's the Queen doing? What's the Queen doing opening a supermarket?
Yeah, exactly.
She's rubbish at football. Who cares what she thinks? It's that gravitas, isn't it? Of like, wow, Fergie, like you said, came medals. We went to Carrington, he showed us around, great facilities, met Ollie, we liked him. Sir Alex himself came and had a word with us. They pulled out all the stops. I know, as a dad, my son's going to be looked after as a player. This could be for me. Why not? If he gets it over the line.
Because if it's between us and Dortmund don't have a Sir Alex.
Do you know what? And Dortmund do pull out all the stops. Yeah, they do a lot. They get the players to text the potential new signing to make him feel welcome. They did it with Haaland. They'll get Puma to make a special kit. Do you know what I mean?
They can do all sorts. They'll do all sorts. They can probably offer more wins, more goals in a season, all that sort of
stuff. That's what I mean.
That's the thing. So we have to do what we've got.
And I don't have any problem with that. And I think if we get, it's one of them with Jude Bellingham. If we don't get him, I'm not going to be like devastated. Yeah. But if we do get him, I'll be pretty chuffed because he looks like a real prospect.
Yeah, he does. Right. Thank you very much for joining me, Jay.
I've enjoyed that, mate. It's flown by on it, mate.
It has. An hour gone. Bloody hell.
Get on to Steam. Let's get our own show.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, that's what we need. Right. Thank you very much for joining us at home. Like I said, this podcast is available on iTunes, on Spotify, on anywhere you get all the rest of your podcasts. And do give us a 5-star review and leave a comment. And if it's funny or we like it, we'll give you a mug.
If it's positive, you mean?
Yeah, it has to be a 5-star because that's what gets us up the charts. Right, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to be having Late Night Live tomorrow. It's a special Wednesday episode because I'm not available on Friday night. So if you're not sure about that...
You're not available on Friday night?
My mate's birthday, innit?
Mate's birthday?
Yeah, I've got to go out for once. Usually I'm like Friday night, I'll hunker down in the studio. But tomorrow, this Friday, I've got to go out. So Late Night Live is Wednesday night.
Your viewers then,
tomorrow night. Yeah. I'm letting them know. I'm telling them. So be sure to tune in for that. We're going to be back tomorrow as well for a preview for all the build-up for the game against LASK. Thank you very much for joining us, Jay. Where can we find you?
You can find me over on Full Time Devils. Find him on Full Time Devils on our previews. Do come and check that out where we're discussing all things LASK.
Right, thank you very much. Like I said, have a lovely evening, everyone. See you in a bit.